Scooby-Doo and the show that tainted its presence. Let's talk about it. We all know Scooby-Doo. It's either you've watched it since you were born, or you didn't but have seen references, memes, and, of course, have heard it before. We all know Scooby-Doo. Very memorable, very memeable. Then there's this show. HBO Max version of Scooby-Doo known as Velma. Supposedly an adult-themed show, and as a young, amazing, smart, and charismatic adult, the show is garbage. Straight up. The way they portray the characters in the show are so different, but in the worst way possible. Especially Velma, who, and I'm sorry for my French here, is the biggest bitch in the show. You can tell how much I hate this show just by me saying the word bitch alone. So, don't go watch that show. Please. Spare yourself all the pain and agony you're gonna sit through. Please. Instead, why don't you watch this one? Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated. A 2010 show that portrays the characters correctly. This show is a real modern gem. However, this show wouldn't be as funny if it were made after 2020, and I honestly rather keep it that way. My favorite scene is the first episode where Fred says he's going to negotiate with the sheriff. Then he just steals the body instead of negotiating. Hang on, I think I'm allowed to play a clip of it. Hold up.
Quiet. From this point forward, this is a crime scene, and future tourist attraction, stay out of it.
I gotta stay out of it right here.
Let me talk to him.
Don't worry, Fred will make him understand.
Shaggy, start the car.
Like I thought you were gonna talk to him.
He wasn't in a listening mood.
So you stole a body? Rockin'.
2010 was a very unhinged era for adult jokes and cartoons. Scooby-Doo Incorporated being an example. Even the adults can find these jokes funny and just have a laugh watching a Scooby-Doo show with these jokes in it. Man, we sure do miss those days. Anyways, enough of me standing around blabbering. Let's get to the drawings. So first I'm going to talk about the main characters of Mystery Incorporated, and then I'll just talk about the show as a whole. I decided to draw the main four and adjust them as if I were the one that created them. For the show and stuff. Just add a bit of flavor. Shaggy was the first to be grabbed into my clutches. For him, I kept his usual slender shape, and I changed up the collar on his shirt. Instead of a V-neck, I tried to go for that small sweater collar look. That's really the only thing I changed about his shirt. I'm not sure if it's more, but I think I added more stubble to his face, and I made it a bit messier than it usually is in the show. Maybe it's because of him stressing, maybe he hasn't got the time to clean it. I don't know, you make that guess. His hair is also a bit more messy and slightly spiky for the same reason. And no, he doesn't reject his hygiene, he's just stressed and or tired. I also gave him a beanie. Honestly, he rocks a beanie. Look at him. Peak drip. Slaying, if you will. If you look closely at his eyes, I kinda made it look like he had bags under his eyes. Again, same reason for the hair and why his stubble is so messy. Overall, I just made him look tired. I really wish I have gone ham with these designs, but I want them to look more like their original selves than just a completely different character. Because trust me, they would have looked completely different. But I do like his design so far. Like, if I were to make a comic of this would be his design. So as you see me draw this, I kind of make these drawings look like little character sheets. So at the side, you'll see me do 3 expressions and just a small doodle in the corner. For Shaggy's expressions, I drew him being his usual self. One just being his goofy, smiley self, kind of, from time to time when you see him smiling. One of him eating a bag of chips. And the last one, him freaking out because there's a monster coming after him. You know, him and his typical scaredy cat reaction. However, with this one, I decided to express it a little bit more by playing with a bit of exaggeration with his hair. His hair spikes out a little bit and his beanie pops off his head. I was going to draw his eyes differently, but he'll end up looking like a lunatic more than being scared. And lastly, you can see a doodle of him and Scooby in the corner. I can't draw dogs, but this doodle is by far the best dog doodle I have done. Also, just a heads up for all the little Scooby fans out there, I don't feel confident enough to draw dogs just yet, so sadly he won't be in this video. The doodle is the most you're gonna get to something Scooby-Doo related, but other than that, Scooby-Doo will not be in this video, and I am very sorry. Alright, on to the next character. The next one that I have grabbed into my clutches is Velma. Velma's design is actually my biggest favorite out of all the four. As you can see, her sweater got a bit more pizzazz with a touch of other colors. I'm not sure if you could tell as I was drawing her, but she's more round. I'm gonna go with that. She's more round than her actual design, and I love it. Diverse body shape for the win. In the show, you can see that Velma has a little bow in her hair, so I added 2 of them on both sides of her hair, instead of just 1. I added some pins to her sweater, totally didn't shamelessly put an Illuminati one in there. Listen, it's a headcanon to me that Velma likes hearing about conspiracy theories, but doesn't actually believe in them. She's too smart for that. She also has a separate pin on the other side of her sweater. Someone told me to add a bisexual pin to her, and I said bet, so she has that now. I mean, it's true, is it not? She like her men stupid, but her women smart. Also, you can't see the skirt, but she is wearing one. If I were to draw her in that with her skirt on, it would be a bit longer. I just don't feel comfortable with how short it is. I think that's just a me thing. I would like to think that Velma is very confident when talking to her friends, since she's so close to them. But when it comes to other people, especially someone that she really likes, she just shuts down, like social-wise. Like, she's completely awkward, she is excluded to herself, unless it's about mysteries. She also seems like someone that would roast you in an Overwatch game. Just saying. Velma's a gamer. Get it? Get it? Because she's gay. Now, I only have 2 hands for clutching people, so let's say I body tackled Daphne into here as well. Daphne, I really liked drawing her design. In the show, she's super fun, and she isn't afraid to get her hands dirty. I changed up how her scarf is worn, and I also gave her a beret. I think that's how you say it. I see Daphne as a French girl boss. I don't know why, but it fits since the show was so diverse with their characters. And in my head, I can hear her having a bit of a French accent in the show. So yeah, there's that. I drew her sleeves differently, so instead of them snug on her arms, they fan out halfway the lower arm. Since she has a fun personality, I changed her eye shape to be more round to fit said personality. I feel so bad for her. She has a huge crush on Fred, and he's a literal dunce. You can see her in love and in pain in the same drawing. You can tell in one of the expressions that I drew her angry, because she can get easily jealous, and when she's jealous, she gets very sassy, and I love it. Just a small tangent of me rambling. I really do love the fact that Daphne is vegetarian in the show. It's not every day you get a modern show or something that's close to modern, and you have a character that is vegetarian. You don't really hear that often, and it brings me a smile to my face. I'm not vegetarian, but I like character diversity, especially when it comes to things like that. The other side tangent is, why did she go from dating Fred to this big chin Giga Chad? I get that Fred doesn't have the right priorities, but at least he doesn't look like someone from a Twilight movie. Gross. And it kinda slightly irritated me at the fact that later on in the season she gets more dumber when she sees hot men. Fred's right there, man. And lastly, we have Fred. Freddy Fred. He gets a gentle nudge into the group. No body slams or aggressive grabs. The himbo himself, Freddy Jr. I honestly can't say a whole lot about his design. I gave him more blue. I even gave him his strap on his shirt to reference his old shirt design. Like Daphne's sleeves, I didn't draw them hugging onto his arms. I also kind of did this on accident, but I still kept it because I liked the way it turned out. His shirt looks a bit big. I'm not sure if you can see it, but it's a bit big and I really like it. Freddy would be the one to unironically wear big shirts because he thought they were the right size and just rolled with it, while still being the goofy trendsetter he is. I gave him a bit more hair, then noticed very last minute that it looked like a mullet. I'm so sorry, Freddy Fred. Put chains on his jeans to give them some flair. Like Shaggy, he also has a little beard on his face, but it's more pristine and cleaner than Shaggy's. Would it be a sideburns or a stubble for him? I'm going with sideburns. He has sideburns. As the fellow dumb trap lover he is, I, of course, had to make one of the smaller doodles of him excited about traps. It was a goofy idea in my head that Fred would flip his collar up when he's making his traps to look cool. Little did you know he looks like a goofy villain. Then he has a tiny doodle of him looking through his favorite magazine. Nice. Once again, I'm sorry for this, but Scooby won't be in the video. I still have yet to draw animals at least decently, and I don't want to butcher the dog we all love. It would be a sin if I messed up a worldwide famous dog of a cartoon mystery series. With that said, let's talk about this show and the comparison to Velma. The drawing I'll be doing as I talk about the next topic is a big friend photo of them in front of the mystery machine. Since I drew them one by one to change up their designs, why not draw them all together in front of their favorite van? Let's get this Velma show over with. I hate it. I hate it with a burning passion. I get that you're trying to make a more adult-themed version of Scooby-Doo, but there really isn't a need for it, due to the fact that the franchise itself is kind of for all ages. An adult could be watching it and they could catch on to the jokes that they didn't catch on as they were kids, and the show is just cartoony enough for a kid to like. However, that's not saying that you can't make a good adult-themed version of Scooby-Doo. There's a lot of potential to make a darker-themed version and have it be adult-themed as well. But what Velma did was just not it. It was so god-awful. I remember seeing the trailer image, and I was intrigued that there was a show dedicated to Velma specifically. It also caught my eye that they made Velma Indian in this show, which I didn't mind at all. I liked the fact that they kind of did diverse race. It was pretty cool. However, the whole entire thing was ruined when the show was released. There was nothing Scooby-Doo related about it besides the characters and the brief mentions of Crystal Cove. The Velma show was supposed to be how the gang got together by an unsolved mystery involving Velma's mom going missing for a few years. Seems like a good plot, but that plot was quickly lost when we would continuously get super dumb eye-rolling jokes or Velma saying some white blank joke every 5 minutes. I'm not saying to not like those jokes or not say them. Heck, I say them about myself. But there's a line of overdoing it, and well, surprise surprise, Velma crossed it. But it's not just those jokes that make this hard to watch. It's the unnecessary references to things such as celebrities, pop culture. Apparently there was a reference to the virus that somebody caught. All of it is just very, very meta, and it wasn't needed at all. If anything, this just feels like a self-insert show, and Velma was the poor victim for it. Let's also mention the amount of metaphors and similes in this show. The amount of those things, it's intolerable. She says them over and over and over, trying to make this show funny and relatable. And it's not even just her, the entire show does it. Multiple characters do it, and what they're trying to compare is so weird because nobody in this generation or the last will know what any of it means. Not that I know of. For example, there was a reference to Netscape Navigator. What is that, you ask? I don't know. It's a thing back in ye old times when we were still all fetuses. Okay, to give y'all an actual little lesson, Netscape Navigator was basically the first ever web browser that would show things more graphically than in text. Another example is when there was that band Sleepover, but it gets cancelled because of some kids being quote-unquote intolerant, which is a reference to kids being stupid on Twitter. But do you see what I'm saying? This show tries so hard to appeal to adults by making jokes and references that you think they will get, but it takes you off the main focus of the show, which is the main four becoming the mystery gang that we all know. Which, speaking of, why did they have to ruin each of the characters? Why did they have to change their personality away from the original characters? Velma is a jerk to literally everyone and only thinks for herself. Shaggy, oh sorry, he's not Shaggy in this one. Norville doesn't have a personality. He has a huge crush on Velma, likes geodes, and he's a geek. That's all you have for him. Daphne is apparently a drug dealer trying to save up so she can find her birth parents, because right now she's adopted by a lesbian couple. Oh, also her and Velma have beef with each other for some reason. Fred. Huh. They really did my boy dirty. They made Fred a literal man baby, as in he legit can't function without being babied by his parents. So gross. Just these small descriptions alone, you'll probably hate them too. Besides Daphne being adopted by a lesbian couple, that's not a flaw I see here at all. That's fine. I would go into further detail about each character, but if I do, I'll not only go off topic, but there will be some harsh words said, so I'm not going to talk about them more. Moving on. It makes me sad that this show is awful for what it is, but it has good animation. There are moments of the show that have actually made me like it because of the animation by itself. Some better than others, but Velma has lost its potential and its effort to appeal to a certain age group because of the story, which overrides the art. If the show was written differently and the characters kept their original personality, then yeah, that would make it more appealing, because you would have a more darker version of a Scooby-Doo. Velma's mom disappears for a good amount of years. Velma is trying to not only live her life as a high school student, but also trying to find what happened to her mom and why there are brains being taken out of students. I said this before, but that plot can hold potential if written correctly. If the characters kept their original personality, then you have a possible good show. Here, let me give you an example of what we could have had. After the disappearance of Velma's mother, there has been numerous cases of students being murdered after dark. When the bodies have been found, they have noticed that the top of their head was ripped or cut open, and the brain would be missing from the body. Over the course of several months, more and more students would have met the same fate, in the exact way causing the town to be put in a panic. Velma, the oddball of the school, known as the loser or nerd to some people, had been neutral about the feelings of these cases happening. She believes these incidents could be related to her mother's disappearance, with her best friend Shaggy, known to be the tall, quiet one that has a huge love for food. They work together to find any evidence or hints that could help them get closer to the mystery and solve the disappearance of Velma's mother and the murder of the students. Daphne, a transfer student who quickly became the prettiest girl in the school, who's been terrified of what's been happening, cause she doesn't want it happening to her. At some point, Velma and Shaggy ask if Daphne is willing to help out with the mystery. She reluctantly agrees, cause both of her moms are detectives and have a bit of information on both cases. Then you have Fred, richest, most popular kid of Crystal Cove High. His family owns a big business and has planned to hand the business down to Fred, but he's immature. He wants to have fun. He has his own interests and isn't really wanting to run a family business, cause that's not what he wants to do. Sadly, he's being forced to. He will act more arrogant and mature, therefore being a bit of a dingle to the people at the school. What he doesn't know is that his parents, his mom specifically, has been doing something more sketchy under the shadows. Over the course of the show, there will be banter, there will be funny moments, wholesome moments, and just calm slice-of-life moments. But there will be arguments cause of Velma's stubbornness, to the point where the group splits up completely. Velma soon comes to terms of her actions and goes to apologize for them, potentially bringing the group back together. The end of the show would be Velma and the gang finding her mother, but she's been hypnotized by Fred's mother to kill and take the brains of the students to create the perfect son for the business and get rid of Freddy for good. And
As the meddling kids they are, they defeat Fred's mom and put her in jail, bringing Velma and her mother back together and Crystal Cove to finally be murder-free after months. For now.
With a bit more writing and maybe a few changes, you have a good show right there. You have characters that have their own issues, you have a progressive story that you can follow through, and since it's Scooby-Doo, you can sprinkle in some jokes and funny moments to show you how the characters bond and potentially become a better gang. That's actually how it works in Mystery Incorporated, even with its whole mystery per episode type thing. Which now brings to the next topic of Mystery Incorporated. I do want to say that this show was made in 2010. Compare that to the 2023 version and you can see a huge, huge difference. Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated is the best modern series that has been made so far. Along with your episodic mysteries, there's also one bigger mystery over the course of the episodes that lead to a bigger climax. Also, over time, the characters' relationships with each other change, for better or for worse. And whoo boy, do you have some stuff that happens that you would not expect in this show. Velma is very sassy in this show. However, the difference between her and HBO Velma is that her being sassy is just how she acts. She's not mean to anyone, but she does do smart remarks when people badmouth her, cause that's her. She stands her ground. She's not just being a dingle to everybody cause she thinks she's in the right. Each of the main characters of Mystery Incorporated are unique. Shaggy loves horror movies. Velma makes blogs. Daphne is vegetarian. How many cartoons have you seen that has a vegetarian character in it? I know it's not that big of a deal, but when you have diverse characters like that, it makes me so happy. Cause that means someone who has that aspect can relate to that character. Like, in that particular flaw or perk or something. And lastly, Fred loves traps and is actually smart and can hold his own. HBO Velma you have bitch, other bitch, doormat, man baby. That's all you have. Away from the characters, let's talk about the art of Mystery Incorporated. I like the way everyone is drawn in this show. It has this geometric style to it. They're either round, more rectangle, triangle body shape, etc. It also helps that the lines are sharper. Even the curves are drawn sharper, and I love that. I love how they were able to draw curves in a way that it fits in with the style without it being too smooth and round, if that makes sense. I really want to talk about the plot, but if I do, I'm going to spoiler the entire show because there is a bigger story to it. But so much happens in 2 seasons, and if I tried to summarize the plot, it would not make any sense. This show is only 2 seasons long. So much happens in it. So I'm just gonna say this. Go watch the show for yourself. I do recommend you to go watch Mystery Incorporated and just experience it for yourself. Who knows, maybe you'll like it as much as I did, maybe you won't. Everybody has their different tastes. But for now, with that all being said and done, let's see how the drawing turned out. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm sorry for the delay. This was supposed to be released last month, but there's been some personal problems and situations that hindered my time a smidge. Hopefully everything will be back on track in the future, and so I can talk to you and make more videos for you guys. Hope you all have a wonderful day, or night, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye!